everybody. It is 7:11 on June the 11th, and I'm about to head down Hot Springs Road to get my daily run on. And let's see what else we get to do today. So the first thing I'm doing today is enjoying the hot springs. I'm out here alone, except for some horses. You might be able to see over my shoulder, you might not, but check it out. Let's see what else we can do today. So I just came across something unusual. There is a softshell turtle. I think that's what it's called. And when I drove up to this area, which is a known area for people from across the border to place their wares, the things that they're selling, when I drove up to this area, there were two people from across the border. I'm saying that because as soon as I drove in, they pretty much immediately began retreating towards the border, towards the river. But right here near these objects that they're selling is this turtle, and I feel like it needs to be moved back to its native environment, which normally is in the water. So, but come take a look with me and let's see what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to try to move it back to the river. Now, you wouldn't know it, but I just took a shower, and again, I came across this weird scene. You can see some people riding off on some horses. When I set that turtle down, I could tell it didn't want to go very far from where it was because it was far from the water, and it looked like it had already been having a challenging day. Well, one thing I didn't get to record is that when I just used this towel to transport the turtle, by the way. When I had it in the towel, on top of the towel, it looked up at me, and as I got closer to the water, I could see it looking ahead like, I want to get there. And as you can see, I'm walking away from the water back to where I found this turtle. Now, recently in national parks, people have had interesting exchanges where the wildlife was euthanized because there was an interaction with it. For me, I just interacted with the wildlife here in a national park. And what you didn't see is when the turtle did put its legs out of the shell, one of its legs was bloodied. And so I can only assume that when I got here, these people that were manning these pay booths from across the border were possibly doing something with that turtle. or about to do something with that turtle from this national park. What I did was put it back in the river. It might have come from back here from one of the irrigation areas, but the river is a more permanent source of water, and I figured it's close enough to where when it restores its strength, it'll be able to find its way to wherever it needs to be safe. In the meantime, again, I just took a shower, and I just rescued a turtle, and look, I don't know if you can see that. There's a lot of sweat pouring off of me right now. All right, so it's 10:16, and so since 5 or 6 o'clock or so, I should say, when I started leaving the tent, I've done quite a bit. I did my daily run, went to the hot springs. I saw a snake towards the tail end of my run. I think it was the second regal ring-necked snake that I've seen, but it was so small. A roadrunner is racing across the road in front of me right now. But it was so small that it's hard to really know if it was just a morph or if it was a variation of a color of another snake that was that's common there. Whatever the case, I just happened across an injured, I think it's called a softshell. It's not a red-eared slider. It's a softshell turtle of some sort. And it seems like it was in the process of being taken possibly for a meal. I'm not sure what, but it was being taken by people from Mexico, and I wish I could have recorded it, but I was really in the moment of trying to take this turtle and release it back to where it was supposed to be, because it was basically right here in the middle of the open. It's 82 degrees outside. The shell was dried out on this turtle, and as it emerged out of the shell, its front left leg had blood on it. So somehow, I think that the people either stunned it or did something that caused it some kind of a minor injury. Hopefully it was a minor injury, and it looks like it was a minor injury because when I placed the turtle close to the source of water where it could hear the river, it looked up at me and it started moving, and it just basically took off into the water. And I found the most level approach entrance. There were places that dropped straight into the water, possibly onto some rocks, but I navigated down into the brush and into the reeds, into the place that goes like right into the water. And so I got even more sweaty than I already was from walking that short distance, and I got my feet all dirty because I was wearing sandals. And you would never know that I just took a shower, except for that I don't smell as bad as I did last night. I only smell a little bit compared to last night because of the recent sweat that I took on. There are so many things that I wish I could show you as they happened so that you could see and you could understand that I'm just one person out here seeing these things. And if I were on a payroll of some sort handling these things, I'd probably be recognized in my peer group where I was able to discuss these things that are happening in real time in these places that we have all kinds of textbooks about and all kinds of literature to describe, but we have nothing to show you what it's like right now as it's occurring in these places. So I try to do that, and I try to do what I'm supposed to do. And in this particular case, I know that I was supposed to help that turtle. I know that I was there I wasn't even supposed to drive this way. I literally was just coming here to get my shower and to get on the road and start doing whatever came next. Well, that's what came next. All of this is unscripted, and I hope that you understand the challenges that I'm going through that basically no one really needs to go through if they're not here. But since I am here,
since I am a steward of this place, I need to do my due diligence. Now, there's a lot of trash in this area. There's a lot of rubbish all over the shoulders, the road shoulders, and there are a lot of people that are coming in not thinking that this trash is coming from us. Just as an example, if I need to get a bag of ice, I'm going to use one-time use bag of plastic to get that bag of ice. That bag, I've seen those plastic bags throughout this park, as if people are just throwing the bag or leaving it in the back of their truck, or whatever it is that's happening to put these bags all over this property. In addition to that, I'm seeing plastic bottles. Now, I know those are sold at all of the gas stations here. I know that all of in fact, the things that are here are what gets blown about. Like that vendor area where the people from Mexico put their stuff. Sometimes their stuff will be blown far away from where it was put on display. And it'll be tangled up in some shrub or another, far away in these areas. But the whole point is it gets windy, and so things tend to blow around here. That turtle didn't blow into that spot. That was carried by somebody. And that turtle, as far as I could tell, it was thankful that I put it back where it would be able to survive. If you and I had an opportunity to be rescued one day, I wonder, would we be thankful for the person that was helping to rescue us? Or would we be upset at them? Would we be so upset that we just took a vile piss on them? I've seen turtles do that when you pick them up to move them. I talked soothingly to this turtle like it was my pet. I saw it looking at me. It cautiously peered its head out. It knew that something was happening to it when those people were moving it. And then it knew that there was something different happening to it after it had the promise of being moved to a safe place in a voice that it probably didn't understand, except for it probably understood the tone and the intent. So if you're hearing the passionate demonstration, if you're seeing the things fly overhead when we're talking about things that are absolutely amazing, those were two vultures, by the way. If you're seeing all of these things as positive, then please click on the thumbs up. Please click on the subscribe. Please click on the comments area. Enter some comments as to what you might have done. And let's try to come to a conclusion. Is it logically okay to help something that's not of our species if we see that it was in trouble because of something that our species caused? And if so, what are the actions that we are required to take as stewards of the places that we are entrusted to and that we are traveling through as we do our best to greet one another with positive intentions? Anyway, stay tuned. Let's see what else we can see this day.
Hey everybody. Well, what else could we have done today? Right now, I've got one of the most prized campsites out of all the campsites because I've got a shade tree. You can probably see some of the shadowing from the leaves and patterns as the day transitions, but right now, only I'm being treated to the visual display that's in front of me where I can see these pine needle imprints, I guess, or shadows, I should say, that are being cast onto the tent. Only I can hear the bird that's chirping out here directionally to understand exactly where it's at by comparison to what you're seeing and hearing and experiencing on this video. So, with all of this in mind, I wanted to at least tell a little bit more about this story about the turtle incident that I just experienced. And I wanted to do it because at some point in time in the future, when there are more than 385 subscribers, I can tell you that the volume of viewership will bring on the same exact conversational disconnects that I continue to experience even today. Today itself, I went to the visitor center and I talked to some rangers who were on duty. And for whatever reason, as I relayed the story about the turtle and then also the bear incident that I experienced, I was pretty much told that, well, I'm not the person who deals with that. We'll get this information to somebody, and maybe someone might or might not be interested in this information that you're sharing with us. So we got onto a topic of discussion that had a lot to do with awareness of the product that we're offering, for an example. And during that discussion, I called it to the attention of these rangers that during the drought in August of this past year, the congregation of bears that was happening right in this very campsite was not occurring because of the mesquite beans. And I'll go so far as to even reinforce that thought by saying I am pretty sure that I see mesquite beans on the mesquite that's out here. And I'm also pretty sure that the visitorship is still just as low as what it was during that point in August when I was here. The temperatures are also pretty uncomfortable unless you're blessed with a shade tree like this. And for this reason alone, the shade tree and the boulders and all of the things that the bears were coming to take refuge under, they were doing that because they were getting kicked out of the other areas that have even larger trees in this national park. Most of the yearling bears that were down here, you could see they were hungry. And it wasn't just mesquite beans they were eating, because one bear basically left some bear scat and another bear ate that bear scat. That's been documented on the National Park's Facebook page during the previous droughts that we had, not the drought that happened this last year, but the previous drought. On their own page, they said that they had a bear that was eating the scat of another bear because of how incongruous the amount of vegetation was to the wildlife, to the feeding requirements of the bears. Let's just put it that way. The food, there was a food shortage during the drought. You can understand that. What people don't understand is allowing insight from other parties, because as I told the story to the rangers about, the bears were under duress. They were being moved forcibly by auditory distractions like air horns and honking horns. So imagine there's someone driving, as there is right now, with an air-conditioned vehicle, and that vehicle is making a lot of noise as it is, but you know, the operator is in comfort. They've got their air-conditioned vehicle, and they're honking the horn to make these bears frightened so that the bears can run away and move to another space that is shady. Well, throughout this campground area, which is where all the trees happen to be that are in this spot, that's where the bears will continue to move to. Because I don't know about you guys, but when it gets to about noon o'clock in Texas and it's 100 degrees out in the desert and it's 90 or just under 90 in the 80s up here, the last thing I want to do if I have only just sheer black fur all over me is to be under that sun. And so I'm going to look for a place to lay down and to be cool and to conserve my energy. So the park stewards at this place weren't helping the animals to conserve their energy during this time of stress. Instead, they were causing additional stress. That was the opinion that I shared. And so the ranger at first at the counter who engaged me in this conversation said, I'd rather take the information of our wildlife biologist who said that they were here eating mesquite beans. Well, I was camping here, and so was a master naturalist who basically goes through a similar, if not even more current than whatever the park biologist here might have gone through. We don't know. I haven't seen the park biologist while I'm out on these trails or in the desert or any of these places, so I don't really know if they're studying the current information or what actually happened. What I do know is that basically our conversation changed after a certain point in time because the park ranger at the desk knew that we knew a mutual person. And that mutual person gave us mutual credibility, I guess. And so because of that, it was something that the park ranger said, I hadn't thought to consider that, you know. And it's true. Many of us haven't stopped to even think that there's any kind of alternate information except for whatever's on the other channel that we're being basically encouraged to participate in. Because many of us can talk about many different things that are of the current topic, you know, like when I was on jury duty just the other day, Monday. Today's Friday, right? Let me check. Today's Sunday. So I lost track of 2 days, even though I said it's June 11th. So on Monday, I was at jury duty, and here I am now on Sunday. And during that point in time, it's like, it's easy to become lost in all of the data. But it's not so easy to become sidetracked from a message that maybe what we're being paid to consume is what we're paying attention to, and we might have an unhealthy relationship going. And if we have an unhealthy relationship going, some of that is going to show maybe in the physical realm. There's fear, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Fear happens to be the thing that keeps us away from discussing some of these topics. Mutual peers who can be recognized as such are almost the only thing that we have left when it comes to being able to communicate with one another and to be heard as if we belong among those one another's. So when we lose our own family in terms of participation among conversations, sometimes we lose our voice, and you can hear it. You can hear it struggling to be recovered, because I shouldn't be the only one talking about these stories. There are other people witnessing these same things, but who have stayed quiet because talking with those authorities continues to result in the basic egocentric programmed response to denounce one another, even not knowing up front. We might be on the same exact course of study. We might actually have the same exact course of study, except that one of us might be the only one in the field seeing the exact things that they're seeing, because, well, where's that wildlife biologist? And the wildlife biologist, just frankly, they're not going to show up until the family helps to present a voice that says, hey, you know, I should be getting emotional about this topic as well. I need to be participating in a way that doesn't always have anything to do with recognition. That is something that I feel that I did for that turtle, and the way that the turtle encounter went, just so you know, with clarity, is I pulled up onto the road where I don't remember what the name of the ruins at the end of the road are called. Something Daniel's Ranch. Maybe it's Daniel's Ranch. When I pulled up into that parking area, there were two people who were manning they were basically tending to the thing that has the money, that holds the money for the gifts or the offerings that they're selling there from across the border. And as soon as they saw my vehicle, they basically retreated into the reeds. And that seems to be more and more common with my vehicle for whatever reason, probably because of the way it has the spotlights on the front, and it looks a little bit, it's of a color range that it's like, well, that could be something. So anyway, these people immediately left the area. But there was something in the area right from where they left that I know wouldn't have been there if they weren't there. And it was the soft-shelled turtle. It was right in the sunlight. And it was in the sunlight at first. When you saw it in this video, it was basically in the shade, because I already had moved it to the shade. And I moved it to the shade knowing, well, it needs to be cooler, you know, maybe it just was afraid to move while those people were there. But as I went to approach it and I was talking to it soothingly, I saw that it did some things that my particular pet does. And so I addressed it continuously, like as if it were my pet. So I moved it into the shade, and when I did, you know, it had already peeked its head out at me and it looked at me. It was really cute, actually, and adorable. And I don't necessarily look that same way, but I was trying to just, you know, recreate the moment. So this turtle had looked up at me and it was like, you know, thank you for putting me in the shade, mister, but, you know, where am I going to go from here? And if you saw the rest of the video and you saw how far I walked to put it into the river, and basically that's the point that I want to cover. So found the turtle, walked to put it by the river. Well, at first on that part of the clip that you got to see, it didn't move, but I didn't notice that there was a reed that was somewhere in its proximity where it couldn't really have gone through and over it. And also, it was hard to place the turtle there because a big portion of that land was cracked off and it looked like it was just going to drop into the river, just like the sheer drop off that was right up the way where I had expected to release the turtle was. And so, in other words, what I'm saying is, due to flooding, there was a sheer drop off, and because of the fact that, you know, where you saw it at that point in the video was basically the best place that I could get to where I could put the turtle so that it could go into the water. But I was standing on a precarious situation, and it was very challenging because the part of the land that I stood on, it collapsed partially, and so I had to go back in there. I couldn't record the whole scene is what I'm saying. And so I moved the turtle over just a little bit. The reed was no longer in its way. It did look up again, and it basically just went into the water, just like that. And it was level. It just ploop, went into the water, and then with a splash, it took off. And that seems like a long roundabout way to explain, you know, well, you know, are you talking about a turtle? Are you talking about the bear that was waiting in the bushes when you were coming around the corner? What are you talking about? It kind of depends. This message is multi-directional. It goes to a lot of different people, talks to a lot of different topics. The main topic that I want to help us to discover is, how do we talk about wellness and conservation like it actually matters what we do to help during this process when nobody else is helping? Even in the instance where someone is picking you up and there's a pair of you working together, someone's picking another species up to do something to it. Whoever bloodied that turtle's shoulder and how they did it, that's how that turtle's day was going so far. For me, what have I done all day? All kinds of different things. And it's like, I'm joyful about it, and I'm a little bit pissed that someone would even do that. And the more frenetic I get, the more we hear noise. There goes another car. And sometimes I feel like, because of the law of attraction, I have to be in the middle of nothing but just goodness in order to receive that goodness. Somehow that bear was on a collision course with me. Out of all the different things that could have happened, somehow when it looked at me, it knew I wasn't going to back down, and it took off like it knew it. When that turtle saw me, it knew that I wasn't like the people that were handling it before. Animals have the ability to understand and discern things too. We are the same thing. We're animals. We know how to discern between good and bad. So it's not because someone has a master biologist credentials or master naturalist or anything like that. It's not because of any of those things. It's because of experience. You either have it or you don't. So for the inexperienced people out there, I want to provide you one more time my perspective. These are the things that I'm encountering regularly, and I come here to heal, and at the same time, it's like I'm absolutely thankful I had the opportunity to help. But I'm also very concerned. You know, I'm concerned for the well-being of some of the things that maybe someone else isn't helping to identify. So these failure points like the nonstop traffic and just crying out all day and all night without really communicating about what we want. I'm not sure how to communicate this message when all it does is isolate me further and further from the people who really, frankly, should be seeing these things. You know? So without your help, without your participation, basically, this is what we got. And I'm not talking to anyone else. I'm talking to you. And you understand that. That's why you're watching this. So if you have not clicked on subscribe, go ahead and do so. but mostly share the thought. Share the thought if you want to share hope with other people. My cousin would have been amazed to see some of the things that we would have seen today had he been here with me. And at the same time, I know, well, maybe he lost his hope at a certain point. I really don't know anymore. I can't tell, because I'm not going to lose hope. I'm going to just keep hoping that this is relevant, you know? I'm getting the short end of the stick. It's not like I'm getting paid to come out here and spend time under this beautiful shade tree, you know? The money's coming from somewhere. And so you got to understand, time is money. And whatever we consider as far as a fair exchange, all I'm asking for is for you to give me a fair shot at explaining what I saw, when I saw it, and look at the rest of the background altogether and try to figure out, you know, have I not been seeing these things all the time? Am I just now making it up? Some of the things that I'm seeing, is the haze in the air, you know, the smoke from some other country, or is it just, that's just the way it looks most of the time now until it rains to clear things out? I don't know. I can't explain it. What I can explain is that today, after rescuing the turtle, the very next thing that I did was stop at the visitor center to upload the video that you saw yesterday. And the very first thing that I ran into was someone telling me, well, I'd rather take the word of our master biologist than you. He didn't say than you, but he meant than just somebody. And that's basically what he meant, though, from you. And so I suggested again, you know, where was the master biologist during that drought, during the situation when the bears were circling the campgrounds? I was here, you know? I was the one with a master naturalist who was helping to talk to the park rangers, to the park hosts, the camp hosts, about the situation that was developing. But, you know, again, without peers, appearances can be a little bit hazy. So till next time, I hope that we're able to help one another. I'm helping your dreams, you know. Please help to share this message. Okay? I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.